Hello, it's Ian again, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of information on the sort of things I look for from what I class as an advanced drive, or even you might just say good driving. So I've made a few notes here. I'm quite excited because the new Roadcraft book has just come out, Police Driver's Manual, which my copy is just down here. Superb book. I haven't quite completed the new one yet, but essentially there's a lot the same in the old stuff, in the old book, which is, I'll show you my old one, a little bit tatty now, yeah, essentially it's the same, but there's some real key changes inside it which are really quite important. And one of the first things which is really different is talking about the GDE, which is goals for driver education, which is superb, which I thought I'd share with you because they're pretty good. First of all, it's considering really reflecting on and considering these before you're driving, whilst you're driving, and at the end of the drive, and trying to improve in them next time. But top of the list you'll notice is human factors, so for example emotion or fatigue. Now we find that most incidents that happen on the road have got some element of human factor, because of course 95% of errors on the road are human error. So whether or not it's the fact that you've been driving for a couple of hours and you're feeling tired, or you've had a busy week, whether or not it's you've had a bad day, you've had bereavement, you've really feeling happy, so you're driving that a little bit quicker, or you've got music on that makes you feel good and you want to drive that a little bit quicker. So really assessing those things, quite important. It also talks about the journey. So your journey goals, are you late for your journey? What about the time frame? So very often it might be that you've planned your journey. This is common in the UK. We've planned our journey, we've planned the time frame, it's going to take 2 hours to do it. However, traffic dictates the fact that it's taking you 2.5 hours to get there, or what have you. So planning that extra time for traffic, really key. But also thinking about your goals for that journey. Is it going to be the fact that you're trying to be more economical than you were last time? Are you going to do a better drive than you did last time? Is it the fact that you're only just going to leave enough time to get there, or are you going to leave a long leeway? Quite important. They're really common things that all drivers get wrong, me included. So it's just really thinking about that before we're setting off. Our goals and journey today will be purely for educational purposes, for the purposes of this video. Having said that though, one of my goals is to be economical, to be safe. We'll come back to those in a sec. The other thing, the bottom two, and these are really the key things that most driving instructors will look at, which is 3 and 4 traffic situations. I get that, so junctions, roundabouts, pedestrian crossings, traffic lights, all that type of stuff, and control skills, so clutch control, brake control, steering control, that type of thing. So really both very important. And of course you've got legalities within traffic situations and control, remaining in control of the vehicle at all times, and also making sure you keep up to date with traffic laws, highway code, things like that. But yeah, so those two as well. But for me, the top two particularly are the ones that aren't done particularly well. So human factors and the journey goals, or journey effectively. So moving on from that, we're now going to talk about the system of car control, because maybe when you learn to drive, or you may know about mirror signal manoeuvre. Now that is, as far as I'm concerned, quite a basic technique. It has its limitations, but this is the advanced style of that. I call it advanced. It's actually just the best system really, which Roadcraft talks about. So what we've got here is the system. It's pretty awesome. It does a really good job, obviously alongside the other bits of the GDE. So I'm quite calm, I'm quite chilled. We've set our journey goals. We also hopefully I know most of the rules of the road, and hopefully I can control the vehicle fairly well. So now I'm going to put these systems into place. So the first thing really is information, which is the top part of this first of all, which is take, use and give information. Now if I asked you a question, which is if you would going to buy a house, what would you do first? Well, of course, you're going to go and look at it first. You're going to find out about the neighbourhood. You're going to find out how much it is. What are the other houses selling for in the area? You know, that type of thing, the condition of the property. You want to find out information before you make a decision. And ultimately, really, what we're saying in driving is the information. And you notice that doesn't stop throughout the whole of the process. The information continues throughout that process. Really, really key for what we're talking about. So, for example, as we come up towards the end of this road, I need to find out who's behind the vehicle and alongside it. For example, if I've got a cyclist down the left, pedestrian on the pavement, or if I've got a car coming towards me, or if there is a smell of smoke in the air, or is there a problem? Now, we can break down this take, use and give slightly in terms of what sort of things we can think about. So, first of all, we can take in information. So here's some examples. We've got mirrors, windows through the actually physically looking, hearing. What can we hear? That's one of the benefits of having the windows down slightly so we can hear. Like there's a car coming past now, we can hear. Smelling. We talked about smoke. You might be able to smell smoke. You might be able to smell tyre smoke. You might be able to smell a problem with a car. Your car maybe. Taste. You might taste that two-stroke in the air through the air conditioning system. And anticipating really what's happening around the car. So that's taking in information. Of course, once we've taken it in, we can then act upon it based on what we know. So usually giving out a signal. So for example, here we've got giving a signal left or right, brake light signals, positioning or speed on the road, reverse lights, flashing headlights, giving a horn signal. All those things are based on the information that we've got. Now, the principle, going back to information as part of the system, is that carries out throughout the whole process. So although when I approach this junction at the end of the road, I take in information and there's no one there, at the point that when I'm choosing my gear, for example, something turns up, I will then give out a signal. Whereas if nothing is at that junction, no pedestrians, for example, I might not give the signal, for example, depending on the situation. So, when we've taken, using and giving the information out, or during the whole process, whilst we're thinking about that, we can then take our position. Now, I don't want to get bogged down with too much explanation, but we look for 5 positions really as a general rule on the road. P1, close to the curb, for view round a right-hand corner, bearing in mind the gutters. P2, central inside your lane. P3, close to the white line but not over it, so you might get a view round a left-hander, but maybe not on a narrow road, maybe not with a truck coming towards you. P4, a little bit more dodgy, over the line, straddling halfway, but you'd use that maybe where you've got a lot of parked cars. And P5, where we're right up against the right-hand curb, so that we get a better view, where there's a lot of parked cars or a left-hand bend that's very, very tight on a very narrow road, for example. So positioning. Once you've chosen your position, which you always get before speed, because if you slow down enough it's difficult to get your position, then you're going to dictate your speed, because of course you need position to take in that information. Getting your speed. Now the important thing here is getting the speed down, for example, before a bend. So we don't want the weight over the front wheels as we approach that bend. We want a balanced car so the car is flat, which we'll come back to later. But the reduction of speed should be smooth as well as we approach that. Or it might be application of speed, so we increase the speed as we come out of a bend. So because we've got more information to act upon that and increase the speed, it's about, again, smoothness with that. We don't want to cause a skid by over-acceleration where weight will go to the back of the car. Gear. So we always choose the speed first, then the gear, because, for example, here, we're pressing the brakes to slow down as we approach the junction, and then we don't know what gear to choose until we gain the information to see what's coming. And what we don't want to do is to select one gear and then have to select another one if we can help it. So we do one application of the brakes and one application of the gear as we approach. It also means we're not getting tied up with our feet and our hands. It also means that the tyres can cope with that, because we're reducing the speed first of all and then getting the gear. There are some cases where we overlap, and that's generally, for example, down a hill. We'll come back to that. And then choosing the acceleration. And acceleration sense is really key. Most drivers over-accelerate, so we'll have a look at how much accelerator we're using and why. For example, as we come in around a bend and throughout the other side of a bend, generally speaking, we want to accelerate gently through it, so we keep the car fairly flat as we come round it, because you'll tend to get a pitch on the car where it goes left or right as it comes around the corner. So if we gently accelerate, what it does is it lifts the car out of the bend as we're coming out, back through it. So take, use and give information throughout, and then position, speed, gear, acceleration. Another way of putting that is IPSCA, information, position, speed, gear, acceleration. And finally, really, on top of the GDE, we talked about that earlier on, about the 4 key things, the human factors, thinking about the journey, thinking about traffic conditions, and also thinking about the car control. We also look for sort of 5 major things when we're driving. We look for a safe drive, systematic, which is the system, information, position, speed, gear, acceleration, or you might use mirror signal manoeuvre, whichever suits. Smooth and stable, we talked about that in terms of keeping the car dead flat when we're coming around the corners, making sure that the car hasn't got a lot of weight distribution on one side or the other, or at the front or the back. Progressive, let's make progress where it's safe to do so in a safe way, so we're not holding people up, but at the same time getting there and being safe. And then finally, sparkle. So when sparkle was really when we put everything we've just been talking about together, and it's just that je ne sais quoi, that little bit of extra style of driving where everything works in a really nice flowing way, difficult to get to. So hopefully I can demonstrate some of that on the road. I can't promise anything, but I'll let you know and we'll have a look at it.